We have a better idea this morning of who the Orlando gunman Omar Mateen is, but there are questions about why the FBI looked at his background and then didn't act. The 29-year-old security guard told his employer that agents questioned him in 2013. The company didn't know the FBI checked him out a second time. We also know Mateen claimed to have ties to several terror groups, not just ISIS, and investigators are trying to figure out if he visited the Pulse nightclub before the attack. Former FBI senior criminal profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole is here. She spent more than 20 years investigating mass shootings, including the Columbine massacre. Good morning.
Good morning.
A lot of important questions this morning. One thing that has emerged today is there are now 4 different witnesses who were regular attendees at the Pulse nightclub that said Mateen had been there on many occasions. What does that suggest about him and his motive?
As part of a mass shooting, especially one that is so well planned, you expect the shooter to surveil the venue before they do that. But what's being described today is outside the realm of surveilling a venue to make sure you pick the right time and the right group of victims. This, to me, suggests somebody that may have had sexual identity issues. And may have actually been struggling with the idea that he himself was gay. And that would add a different motive and a different perspective on the case. But I think there's a distinction between surveilling for purposes of completing the shooting successfully and then actually being engaged in the activity itself that he targeted.
Yeah, because there are reports that he was on gay apps and that he'd asked men out in the past. It was more than just, I'm just there enjoying the drinks.
That's more than surveillance.
What do you make, Mary Ellen, of reports that he was so calm and so cool when he called 911?
Being so calm and cool is really important, and I say that for this reason. It's hard to visualize, but being inside that club, you had all those people crying and yelling and screaming for their life. It was chaotic, and yet he's staying cool, calm, and collected. That goes to his personality. That's not a product of being well-practiced or well-versed. That goes to him being hypo-emotional. It's extremely callous. It shows an extreme lack of empathy for the victims. A lack of guilt, a lack of compassion, and those traits did not just occur the day before the shooting. No, those were personality traits that pre-existed the shooting.
Killing someone like that in a mass way with that kind of power, you ask the question, why? Because you know you're taking lives. How can you do it? What is in their head?
Well, the thinking, again, really pre-exists by months, if not years, the actual carrying out of the event. First of all, the individual has to develop the ability to dehumanize other people, to turn them into objects. So he did not see those people inside the club as humans. They were objects. It also requires the ability to be practiced and be comfortable with violence. And again, that comes with years of fantasies about violence and violent ideation. And violence is how you handle the world. And it also involves an ability to view the world not as an angry man, but as a person filled with hatred, and not just hatred for gays. I've never had a case yet where the individual was just hateful of one particular group, like women or blacks or gays. It's usually they hate everybody. So they have this nihilistic view of the world. So it's this compilation of personality traits, but the hardwiring is already there.
And it gives them power.
Well, power and control.
And maybe they hate themselves too, Mary Ellen. Is there something about that? Because I'm wondering, I know you can't predict violence, but is there a way that you can prevent it?
Right, we're not where we want to be to predict who will act out violently next. But to be able to prevent violence, we look for patterns of behavior. And some of the things that we look for are a lifetime pattern of basically being somewhat of a loser, not having accomplishments in life. The other thing we look for is a pattern of violent ideation. Everything in life comes down to talking violent about how you're handling it, or a lifetime of hatred for other people. And your role models are groups or people that are filled with hate, who carry out things in a violent way. Again, so you're looking at patterns of behavior, and then of course expressions of actually acting out violent, and a fascination with weapons, which is probably number one.
Right, Mary Ellen.
Number one. When you add all of these things together and you don't have access to weapons, you can't act out as violently as we saw. When you have all these traits together and you have access to weapons and you know how to use them and you're hypo-emotional, you have a very deadly cocktail.
All right. Thank you very much, Mary Ellen O'Toole. Very chilling to hear that. Thanks a lot.